Hi, people. Moin away from Bakir again, as always, Andrew, as usual. I'll be covering the 46 spirits from the Goetia in this segment. Bifrons. The 46th spirit is called Bifrons or Bifrus or Bifros. He's an earl and appeared in the form of a monster, but after a while, at the command of the exorcist, he put it on the shape of a man. His office is to make one knowing in astrology, geometry, and other arts and sciences. He teacheth the virtues of precious stones and woods. He changeth dead bodies and putteth them in another place. Also, he lighted seeming candles upon the graves of the dead. He had under his command 6 legions of spirits. And the editor says that it should most likely be 60 instead of 6. Yeah, in any case, Bifrons is Goetic spirit number 46. So the 46th spirit mentioned in the Goetia. So yeah, I'm just going to come right out with it. Let's start off with his appearance. Bifrons looks like the whole monster appearance. He does indeed appear as a monster. And he looks specifically, because when seeing him, I remember in old Bugs Bunny cartoons, people that grew up in the 90s, they remember there was like a red-orange monster that always used to like try to tease or kill Bugs Bunny or catch Bugs Bunny in Warner Brothers, aka WB cartoons. And I Googled him. His name was Gossamer, Gossamer. Let me just briefly show you. Yeah, so this is essentially what Bifrons looks like. But think realistic, obviously, so not at all comical, but also not intimidating, just neutral. And think completely black. Completely black. Yeah. And that's what Bifrons looks like appearance-wise, and his voice does indeed match his appearance, but nevertheless, you can still understand him clearly. Now, as for the type of spirit that Bifrons is he is a necromantic egregore. He is a thought form that was created mainly for necromantic purposes. And his master was a magician that was strong in his own right, that lived around the 14th/15th century. To be precise, Bifrons, if I'm not mistaken, he was created in 1565, so medieval times, in what was back then known as the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire back in the day spanned parts of Central and Western Europe. Think pretty much every Western European country that you're aware of and or familiar with: the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Spain, Portugal, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Think more centralized, okay, Central European, Germany, Austria. That's what the Holy Roman Empire used to be about. And the magician that created him lived and or created Bifrons around that time era. I looked it up, and it is correct in terms of the lineage. Not that I didn't expect it to, obviously, but I simply looked it up, and I looked up some information on the Holy Roman Empire. I was already familiar with them, but I looked up the whole timeline and whatnot, and I saw that, yeah. So it was indeed, the Holy Roman Empire was indeed active until that time. I mean, both including that time. It was active during the aforementioned time period and or time era. And if I'm not mistaken, his name is French. Okay, because I already thought to myself, it sounds French, Bifrons. Yeah. Okay, in English, you'd simply say Bifrons. You can also tomato. But if I'm not mistaken, the magician that created him was a power level 30, 35 magician. So strong, well within his own right, especially, I mean, back then. Not that that's necessarily a metric. I mean, time period is a metric for measuring occult strength and or power and or prowess, but still, okay, a power level 35 magician is still quite impressive from a neutral perspective. So yeah, this guy was strong within his own right, and that's what he created Bifrons for, and hence the specialties mentioned. Now, Bifrons is quite subservient, honestly. You can tell how his master created him. He is very altruistic. He likes to serve, as in he is more than willing to serve. Now, let me go over the specialties. Like I already mentioned earlier, his office is to make one knowing in astrology, geometry, and other arts and sciences. That is correct, because guess what? Bifrons, unsurprisingly to me when I saw that, is Saturnian. He corresponds to Aquarius, specifically 5 degrees in Aquarius, which stands for what I said, altruism, a willingness to serve, okay, subservience. He also has Plutonian and Sagittarian influences, but up to a minor extent. So yeah, anything, and there is no specialty that he has. Pretty much everything is a specialty, but I'll get to that in detail later on, say for 1 or 2 things. Well, again, I'll get to that in a second. So all things that fall under Aquarius, all things, sciences, etc., occult sciences, esotericness, blah, 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 blah. All the aforementioned things, all sciences, you name it, astrology, for example, geometry. Yeah, he can do all of that, okay? And not literally as a specialty, but let's just say on a scale of 0 to 10, his proficiency in all things Aquarian is like a 7, 8. Metaphorically speaking, ballpark number. Around a 7 or an 8 regarding proficiency. He teaches the virtues of precious stones and woods. No, that's a so-called secondary specialty. That comes in second in relation to the Aquarian affairs. The whole teaching people about precious stones and the virtues thereof and woods stands for the Sagittarian influence. It's not a major influence. It's an indirect Sagittarian influence, just like the Plutonian influence. And it comes in second compared to his Aquarian prowess-based skills, or just plain prowesses. Yeah, because obviously Sagittarius deals with flora and fauna, so the outdoors, nature, wildlife. So hence that being mentioned, okay? And it is one of the things he picked up, or the things that he's indirectly good at are things that were simply picked up while his master assigned him tasks and whatnot. But that wasn't his main purpose, of course, so hence it being an indirect skill. He changed the dead bodies and put them in another place as a metaphor for necromancy. Also falls under Aquarius, not literally, but Saturn rules Aquarius and Capricorn, and Saturn also deals with necromancy. Saturn is the conventional planet that deals with necromancy, whereas the zodiac sign Scorpio deals more with necromancy from a zodiacal perspective. But I see where they got that from. That's where it comes from, to deal with necromancy. And it's the same. It's more a flat skill level, falls on an Aquarian skill level. He lighted seeming candles upon the graves of the dead. The things such as he changed the dead bodies, put them in another place, other than the aforementioned, and lighting candles seemingly, simply stands for on occasion that you might notice side effects in relation to working with Bifrons. As a matter of fact, he made a noise, or I heard a brief noise, like a simple crack or something that sounded peculiar, to the point where I was like, it is most likely him. I saw that, and that's why they mentioned that. So, for example, if you work with Bifrons and all of a sudden you light a candle, you might notice that all of a sudden it's like someone blew the candle out, or the candle briefly started flickering, despite the fact that it's in an airtight room, in a manner of speaking, or in a room with minimal ventilation, to the point where there is no plausible explanation for that. And he's anything but the only spirit that can do so, obviously, or has done so, but it's still noticeable in terms of being mentioned in the Goetia as well as overall. Oh, yeah, no, and that's essentially it. There are no other thingies, no other skills or anything like that. Let me see if there's anything else I have to say. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it with Bifrons. Obviously, the thumbnail showcases his seal and his description. And that is all. Bye-bye.